Now, we don't know this woman, but we've seen looks like this from people who get mad at us exoticals and mixed race women for calling ourselves mixed. We get the nasty glares and scowls and eye rolls from unambiguous dark-skinned black women with big noses and 4C hair, the original woman, quote unquote, for simply being light-skinned, for simply having curly hair, for simply being gorgeous, golden, mixed, light-skinned, exotical. And this qualifies for darker exoticals as well. Today's video, we're going to talk about how we as mixed and light-skinned women can deal with the jealousy of dark-skinned black women, the difference between jealousy and envy, some tips I use, get this whole conversation going. I'm going to mention a couple of email exchanges that I received that inspired today's video, so be sure to watch the entire video to the very end. Now, this email says, hey, I have another request for you that's to do with Dominicans and Dominicans only. Since you've talked about mixed race and Afro-Latinos before and briefly mentioned us in particular in those videos, but I think a full video about us would do really great now. Blackistan loves to make fun of us for refusing to call ourselves black, the infamous I know black meme, and accuse Dominicans of self-hatred when Dominicans rightfully acknowledge and claim their multiracial heritage by saying they're just Dominican. It makes no sense to acknowledge only your African ancestry, especially since she's only in the 30% range of blackness, which is less than a typical biracial or quote-unquote mulatto, and completely ignore her Taino and European admixture. A lot of Dominicans also have partial Middle Eastern and Asian ancestry as well. I did not know that. And another thing is the black community loves to call the DR a third world country, as if the same African Americans aren't living in third world country conditions in a first world country, which is even more embarrassing. I digress, and say that they would never visit because it's racist. But the same women are the same ones trying to copy the hair texture of these Dominican women they look down upon, allegedly. In the main Afro-Latina video that I did, she says, I pointed out that these people love to point out the alleged racism and self-hatred in everyone but themselves, which they do. They keep bringing up the complicated history with Haiti as proof that Dominicans are racist, yet ignoring gang violence, baby mama drama, sexual harassment, poverty, and all the other issues in the African American community. But they're also obsessed with what Dominicans do and how they identify. Now we're mixed. Shh, if you say you're mixed, you're just a self-hater, lol. Let me love myself and accept my 30% African as my whole self, F my Hispanic and Taino heritage, LMAO. These comments are from a Reddit thread that she looked up last night about Dominican stereotypes that people from other Latin countries have heard as usual, us being, quote, racist, refusing to be labeled as black, were brought up several times, of course, without fail. Now, as someone who, as I've mentioned, is mixed with Haitian, I can't speak for Dominicans, but I have, outside looking in, seen this and heard this, especially in all my Afro-Latino mixed race friends growing up, so I understand where she's coming from. She continues to say, I've noticed that black women that trash the Dominican Republic say it's nothing special from other places on the map. They're usually from places like Jamaica, Trinidad, Bahamas, the African-looking Caribbeans who they don't get the exotic pass at all. And they say their places, their countries are better. She grew up in Toronto, where loads of Jamaican women and girls would hate on her for being Dominican, therefore more exotic than they'll ever be. And she doubts that the average person could find Jamaica on the map, but they could easily find the DR. Outside of the Caribbean, most people can't find Jamaica on a map, just can't. Now, black men feel entitled to Afro-Latinos and Dominicans especially because they're still, quote, black, but they're exotic. And her personally, she's repulsed by black men. She writes, white men have always been her preference. It's like these people are secretly fans of us and they mask it with hatred and jealousy because no one is checking for them at all. DR, Dominican Republic, is the most visited country in the Caribbean, and contrary to Blackistan's beliefs about it being to cheap sex and cheap surgeries, it's because white people, they're so desperate to be accepted by are coming in droves to the resorts and the beaches. They love the food, music, everything, and the black community is envious. She says, I apologize for the essay, but I just need to get all of this out because I honestly don't understand how they can dislike a particular group of people so much. It's easy to hate anyone when you hate yourself already. I can answer that question for you right now, dear. And she goes on to say, yet so want to claim them so bad because they obviously don't love themselves and wish they were mixed and exotic. What I just said. If that's not mental illness, then I don't know what is. And she goes on to ask that I make this particular part anonymous, and I'll obviously respect her wishes. So I'm not surprised by any of this behavior. And again, the Black community loves doing this to Afro-Latinos and especially Afro-Latino women. Cardi B, who's a celebrity, great example of this. She goes on to say, well, actually, excuse me, this is the second email exchange with a different person. Both people I'm going to keep private. This person writes, hey girl, still looking forward to the video, but wanted to update you on this situation. About the Black women of Jamaican descent always hating on me and giving me attitude for no reason because I'm Dominican. So at this youth residential place / shelter that I'm leaving in 2 weeks, this girl that works on the main side, who's Jamaican, has always given me anxiety due to how aggressive and rude she is. I confronted her about this for a second time today when I put in a complaint about her, this time with the manager present, who's an unambiguous Black man. And she got defensive and kept saying how we already discussed this and kept repeating the lie about being a proud Jamaican. And she's been to the Dominican Republic and loves the culture and loves the people. Yet she keeps being rude to my Dominican ass, she says. After asking simple questions and always giving dry, deadpan responses, I even overheard her talking to my primary worker about me the other day, and she sounded pressed for nothing. I was also referred to as Black by my manager many times, even after saying I'm Dominican, mixed Latina, and it drove me up the wall, but I was too scared to correct him. I just didn't want to be humbled but I just casually weaved into conversation whenever I was mislabeled because us Dominicans are so mixed. So sorry for misquoting, but this is the same person, another part of the email exchange. This is all the same one person writing this. Then the Jamaican chick brought up that she's mixed herself. They love to do that. And how we have the same hair texture. As if she was trying to humble me or one-up me. I honestly don't know. She has issues. And she asked me if I was perceiving her treatment of me as her being mad that she's not Dominican. And I told her that's how it comes across, and she got even more defensive. Didn't even want to look at this bitch in the eye because she's so intimidating. Plus, she talks to other people staying at the place in such an aggressive bullying manner. Her attitude towards me reared its ugly head today, where she basically proved me right with how defensive and annoyed she got that I was confronting her again. Probably because she knows she's guilty. Jealous ass. I'm in the process of moving to an area outside of the region this place is located at, and apparently she didn't even want to look into taxi options for me because it was too far out. But I just know she refused to help me at all because she can't take it that I'm more exotical than her ugly ass will ever be. Not to mention my reserved personality. I really just mind my business. A lot of Black women have given me hell for being Dominican growing up. Most of them being Jamaican like this bitch, or some type of African, or some Black Caribbean. It sucks because I don't even give these people time of day, but they're just keep proving time and time again they're so jealous of my quiet, shy, Dominican, exotical self that bothers no one, even though they deny their jealousy, but I can see right through them. It's much too obvious. These bitches are just mad. They come from some bummy island you can barely find on a map, and no one is visiting them in droves like the Dominican Republic. That's why they attack us Dominicans and insult everything about us and how we identify. Pure envy, I tell you. Sorry for yet another essay, but just needed to get more frustrations out because I'm sure I'm not the only one dealing with this stuff as a mixed Latina. Now, I'm not surprised by the gaslighting, the level of bullying, the aggression. You have to understand, and I've heard people say this and I'll verify it. Black people, Black women, especially dark-skinned Black women, have an inferiority complex. We talked about their arrogance and how they'll cope their insecurities with arrogance and call it confidence, even though it's not, because confidence means you compete only against yourself. Arrogance feels like you need to be better than everyone else in the room. And another thing I've noticed with these women in particular is they hate exoticals, especially us exoticals who are foreign. And if you're a foreign exotical who minds your business, they're going to hate you all the more because you don't give them the energy that these beings so desperately need to survive. And even for about the black man at the beginning, who she kept saying, keep calling her black men do that so that they feel like they're dating a mixed woman, an exotical, but they can still say, oh, but she's still black. Oh, but she's still black. She has 15, 30, maybe 45% black in her DNA, but they'll still act like she's just black, knowing full well they would not date a woman in their phenotype who looks like them because they want an exotical or non-black woman. And she goes on to share more of her experience, saying that she also forgot to mention that this same Jamaican lady was brushing off her experiences with sexual harassment from some of the guys staying there, like being told they didn't count because she wasn't touched, quote unquote. However, she did have these guys looking at her and trying to talk to her and pick her up and get upset when she rejected them. Two dusty black guys and a scrawny Asian one. I'm not surprised about the black men one, not even a little bit. Another thing is her shy demeanor. When she wanted to stay in the office to talk more about my experience with unwanted sexual advances with her, she just assumed I wanted to sit down and stare and said that in a weird yet rude way, as if being quiet was a bad thing. I just listen to music all day, sorry. So I don't sit down and stare for hours. This chick clearly has issues with me and gets so triggered when I bring it up to her. Tragic. So again, this is the type of dark-skinned black woman who feels outshined, both literally because she's lighter and metaphorically speaking, by an exotical woman, especially Afro-Latina, because she knows that our attraction goes internationally. And I told her, this is the part that the same woman, it's very long, I know, so I told y'all at the beginning, she goes on, and I think this is the last portion from her, saying, absolutely, I don't go on my way to interact with this woman because of how obviously bitter she is. But the few times I did have to speak to her due to no one else being available, it was the same attitude every single time. She ended up admitting that she wishes she was Dominican. After all, this time of proclaiming to be a, quote, proud Jamaican. She's not dark-skinned, but almost my complexion. But she acts like a dark-skinned woman with the constant aggression and jealousy towards my exoticness. I've had Jamaicans darker than her give me the same crap. So that's nothing new. Now, this is a second email exchange with one of my younger subscribers, completely different woman. That I mentioned prior, all one woman. This is someone different. She says, hi, I'm sorry to be emailing again, but I needed to talk with someone who would understand. In case you don't remember, I'm only 15. I've gone through a lot of jealous women around me, specifically with my physical looks. The other day, me and my mother went grocery shopping, and there was a dark-skinned woman who's wearing a shiny curly wig that you could tell was fake. Now, I have naturally curly hair, and I don't wear extensions or anything, but when I tell you, this woman gave me the nastiest look you have ever see. You thought I would punch her or something. This woman was wearing a wig that made it look like she had my hair texture, yet she was being rude. A few minutes passed and we end up in the same aisle. Now I'm standing behind my mom at this point, and she's behind me, and she came up and literally put her hands in my head and said, I like your hair, then proceeded to ask if I had tracks in my hair. I'm gonna be honest, I did not think that was a compliment. It wasn't. Then at school, I had a friend who liked this boy who was the same mix as me. So my friend, the dark-skinned girl who is unambiguous, told me she didn't want me to talk to him anymore because she feels like he will automatically like me. And I was kind of offended because that wasn't my intention to take him or something. So people dismiss her. Continue reading the rest of that email. Sorry, you guys, I got cut off. Dark-skinned girl who I look nothing like. Wow, insert her name. You look just like her, as a way to humble her. And she knows how much I don't like when she compares me to unambiguous dark-skinned women, because it makes me feel like she's trying to erase a part of me that she doesn't like and can't relate to and can't control. So, and she doesn't like that she's a very proud mixed girl, but that seems to really set her aunt off. And she thinks that she needs to be, quote, humbled and reminded of her blackness, as if you couldn't forget, because in her mind, it's an insult to call me back because she knows deep down that me being mixed has made me special in a way. In this email, and she attached photos that I obviously can't show you guys for privacy reasons. And I didn't read all the emails word for word verbatim, so if you need to go read some stuff in the prior bits of the video, you can. But now towards the end, I'm just going to talk about jealousy with unambiguous Black women, dark-skinned women in general. And I gave her this response saying, no worries about emailing me a second time. I enjoy listening to your stories. I will definitely make a video about how mixed and light-skinned women should deal with jealousy from other races and phenotypes of women, especially dark skin and just Black women in general. So that was a lot to unpack, you guys. We're almost at 16 minutes in the video, but I'm going to try to touch on every bits and pieces that we saw from this video. So both these two exotical women, this is not a picture of them either or, but this is kind of close to their phenotype, so just imagine with me. And these both beautiful mixed race exotical light-skinned women are dealing with different types of jealousy and just hate from dark-skinned Black women. The first one being a grown woman in the workforce, this dark-skinned Black woman trying to make her job unnecessarily difficult. The Black man trying to make her feel like you're a Black woman just like the rest of them. If she was a Black woman, then that Black man wouldn't want her, because Black men, I don't care what anyone says, hate their own Blackness. They hate themselves. They hate their moms. They hate their skin. They hate their nappy hair. And those will be the same Black men. Oh, I love your waves. I had a Black man tell me that recently, not to make it about me, but they'll compliment you. Oh, I love your hair. I love your waves. And then get mad at you and give you the same sass and attitude as a dark-skinned Black woman when you don't identify as Black, because they're trying to get access to you and live vicariously through you as an exotic or mixed woman. And when we don't let them do that, they get upset and offended because media and their own entitlement has made them feel like they should have access to us. Same with dark-skinned Black women. They love having us around to try to mooch off our success, or just trying to, as both of these women mentioned, quote unquote, humble us and remind us that you're still Black too. You're still just a nigga. They'll give us all the nastiest looks. They'll be mad when we get attention from men. They'll pretend, even like the one woman wrote, that our sexual harassment stories aren't valid, or that we quote unquote asked for it, you deserved it, you're such an attention seeker, you're so thirsty for men, you're such a pick-me, you're pick-me-sha. They love to throw those words around when we know dark-skinned Black women are the thirstiest for men, period. White, Black, there is no race, a group of women who will so aggressively throw themselves at men the way Black women do and still won't get chosen. That has to hurt. Exoticals and mixed women, light-skinned women, will mind our business and get men. These women will try hard and get nothing. We don't even have to try, and they're big mad. And it's understandable, but I still don't care. And the funny thing is, I want to make sure that us as exoticals and just the pretty girls understand the main difference between jealousy and envy, because I don't want to use those words interchangeably. Envy can be described as wanting something someone else wants. So when a dark-skinned girl says, oh, I wish I had your curly hair, I wish I had your light skin, I wish I had your light-colored eyes, I wish I was Dominican, I wish I was from whatever place, whatever admixture you have. Them wanting something you have, maybe not admixture, but wanting something, one of your physical features, that's envy. They can be envious of our hair, our money, our relationships with men. Jealousy, however, is much deeper and involves a much higher level of insecurity. Jealousy is more of the jealous person doesn't want their friends watch. They fear reflects on them. So jealousy really is, I just want to be you. And I'm upset that you have all these things that I want and I can't have. So you as an exotical having that calmness, that more reservedness about yourself, that femininity that's natural. And I've mentioned in my other videos, we were taught how to be women. Black women don't know how to be women. And I'll keep singing that to the rooftops because it's true. And so they'll try to bash your womanhood as an exotical because they see part of their blackness in you, but you're part of their blackness along with all the other pieces they can never achieve in their lifetime. So that's why they hate you. Now, here's 10 quick signs of a woman being jealous of another woman that we even mentioned in some of the email exchanges we read. Acting defensive, snooping through your phone, snooping through your business. I'll go so far to say just being in your personal matters, worried about who you're dating, what you're doing, what school you went to, what degrees. Applauding your failures and reminding you of your failures. Guilt tripping, disparaging success. The woman will up her game when she's around you. That one-upmanship is disgusting. They'll exclude you, especially in functions where there's a lot of men, especially men with money around. They'll try to make sure that they can cock block you and block your blessings any way they can. The sabotaging these Black women do, downright horrendous. Nobody can beat them in this game, I swear. Number 8, expressing outright dislike. Number 9, they'll become clingy. And number 10 can tie into it, try to make allies. So there's certain dark-skinned Black women who will hate you, but they'll want to keep you around because they'll feel like some of the stuff you get as a mixed woman, an exotical, a light-skinned girl, will, quote, rub off on them. And for number 10, sometimes they'll make allies with you to try to use you or try to learn how to move and operate like you, or they'll make allies with themselves. It'll be a bunch of dark-skinned girls or brown-skinned girls or just unambiguous Black women who are very insecure, masculine, angry, ugly, bitter, basic, jealous, all the things. And they'll join forces against you. They will try to ruin your reputation, take your man, act like your problems aren't valid, bash the country where you come from, while trying to be you at the same time. We know this stuff is never new, but tips I can give you. Now I'm gonna give some tips on everything we discussed in this video as a whole. So for the dark-skinned, unambiguous Black women, regardless of complexion, even if they aren't dark-skinned, the Black women who are just jealous, envious of you, whichever the case may be, you make sure that you do not let that woman close enough to stab you in that back. You don't let that Black man who feels the need to tell you, but you're Black, but you're Black, but you're Black, and try to control your identity as an exotical or use you for any capacity. Don't give them access to you. Friends, family, co-workers, possible romantic interests. You make sure that anyone who you can smell and you can get the vibe of this person doesn't have what's best for me in mind, and they don't love me genuinely and accept me the way I accept myself as a mixed woman, they can't be in your life. They can't be able to be the people speaking in your ear, standing in your corner with you. And you have to be okay if that offends family members, friends, co-workers, whoever the case may be. And another thing I just want to give as a tip is, as an exotical, we cannot be sharing our personal history, our stories of sexual harassment, the things we face as someone who's light-skinned or dark-skinned with the 3B, 3C hair type. We can't share our stories to unambiguous dark-skinned Black women. They're going to make it about them. They're going to gaslight you. They're going to manipulate you. So there is no point in engaging in that conversation. If it is something you do feel like, I want to share this with someone so I can feel closer to them, please talk it to it with a therapist. I know it is a very lonely lifestyle sometimes as a mixed and light-skinned person, but that's why channels like this one exist. And not just mine, Golden Goddess, Blasian King, Exoticals United. There's so many exotical, biracial channels and spaces for you. And even if you need to make your own, do that. But I'd rather you do that than you tell someone who is unambiguous or even someone who's a self-hating mixed person something that you wouldn't want 4 or 5 people knowing.